Xyler was not screaming. He was shrieking. It was a high, thin sound, like metal scraping on glass. His tall, blue-skinned body, usually so graceful, was stumbling into the walls of their small apartment. "I can't walk straight," he shrieked, his large, black eyes wide with terror. He pointed a long, three-fingered hand at his human roommate. "What did you do to me?" Mark looked up from his datapad, completely calm. He took a slow sip from a white mug. "Xyler, relax. I told you it was strong." "Strong?" Xyler cried. He tried to take a step toward Mark, but fell sideways, crashing into the food synthesizer. "This is not strong, human. This is a poison. My legs feel like water. The room is tilting." Mark finally put his datapad down. He was not smiling. This was not the funny reaction he expected. Mark was a junior diplomat on Station 7, and Xyler, a Xylosian, was his assigned cohabitant. Mark knew that Xylosians were famous for their perfect balance. Their bodies were built for the low-gravity cliffs of their homeworld. For a Xylosian, not being able to walk straight was not funny. It was terrifying. Okay, easy," Mark said, standing up. He walked over to his roommate. "Tell me exactly what you feel. Is your heart fast?" "I don't know. I can't feel my heart. I can only feel the spinning. My joints are loose. I cannot grip the floor." Xyler panted, leaning heavily against the wall. Mark's calm expression was now gone. It was replaced by a deep, worried frown. He knew what a caffeine overdose felt like. It was a racing heart, shaky hands, and too much energy. This was not that. This was a loss of motor control. This was a neurological problem. "Xyler," Mark said, his voice now low and serious. "I am drinking the exact same coffee, from the exact same pot. I feel perfectly fine." He held up his own mug. "See, I drank my cup first. You poured yours right after me." Xyler looked at the black liquid in Mark's mug. Then it is not the poison liquid. It is something else." "What else did you have?" Mark asked, his mind racing. "Nothing, only the black liquid, and the..." Xyler's eyes widened. "The sweetener, the powder in the silver packet. On your desk." Mark's blood turned to ice. He ran to his work desk, pushed aside his datapads. There they were. A small, elegant box of 5 silver packets. A gift. He had met the new Cathak ambassador yesterday, a tall, insect-like creature. The ambassador had given him this box. "A taste of my homeworld's most famous spice," the ambassador had said. Mark had assumed it was sugar. "Xyler, that wasn't sweetener," Mark said, his voice grim. "That was a diplomatic gift. I haven't had it analyzed by the lab yet." "Analyzed?" Xyler whispered. He was starting to slide down the wall. You let me drink an unknown alien substance? I didn't let you. I didn't know you were going to take it." Mark shouted, a note of panic now in his own voice. He grabbed the small box. The writing on it was in a language he could not read. Xyler made a small gasping sound and collapsed. He was not unconscious, but he could not move his legs. "Mark, I am cold." This was bad. This was very, very bad. Mark ran to the apartment's main console and smashed the red emergency button. "This is Envoy Assistant Mark in Quarters 4B Delta. I have a medical emergency. My roommate is suffering from paralysis. Probable neurotoxin." "Acknowledged," the station's calm computer voice replied. "A medical team is on its way." Mark knelt beside Xyler. The alien's blue skin was turning a pale, sickly gray. "Hang on, Xyler. Just hang on. What did the Cathak ambassador look like?" "Cathak," Xyler whispered, his eyes fluttering. "Mark, the Cathak are at war with my people. The Xylosians, why? Why did you have their spice?" Mark's heart stopped. He stared at the silver packet in his hand. A gift from an enemy of his roommate. The apartment door hissed open. Mark looked up. expecting human medics in white suits. It was not medics. Two tall, gray-skinned aliens in black armor stood in the doorway. They were not human. They were not Silosian. They were Kathak, the same species as the ambassador. They carried energy rifles. They completely ignored Mark. They moved straight to Zyler on the floor. One of them pulled out a medical scanner and ran it over Zyler's body. The scanner beeped a high, sad tone. "It is the synapse fire toxin," the first Kathak soldier said to his partner. His voice was a low growl. "Fast-acting. Attacks the Zylosian motor cortex. He has minutes." The second soldier looked at Mark. His eyes were cold and full of hate. "You did this, what?" "No," Mark said, holding his hands up. "It was an accident. He drank something from my desk. It was a gift. From your ambassador." The two Kathak soldiers froze. They turned to look at Mark at the exact same time. "A gift?" The first soldier said, "Ambassador Vrekal gave this to you?" "Yes, he said it was a spice," Mark said, holding out the silver packet. The second soldier slowly took the packet from Mark's hand. He looked at it. He looked at his partner. The hate in his eyes was gone. It was replaced by a dawning, terrible realization. "Vrekal. He did not give this to the human as a gift," the soldier whispered. "He gave it to the human as a weapon." The first soldier understood. He was trying to poison the human. "But why?" Mark asked, totally lost. "Why would he poison me? I'm just a junior envoy." "Because human," the first soldier said, his voice now urgent. "Our ambassador is a radical. He believes the Kathak Empire should conquer this station. But he cannot attack the station while the Human Federation protects it. He was trying to assassinate you," the second soldier explained, his voice grim. "A human diplomat, found dead in his apartment. And the only other person with access? His Zylosian roommate. Your two species are enemies. It would be the perfect crime. The station would erupt in chaos. The Zylosians would be blamed. The humans would declare them terrorists. And in the confusion, our fleet would liberate the station." Mark stared at his roommate, who was now barely breathing. Zyler, the alien who couldn't walk straight, had accidentally drunk the poison meant for Mark. My coffee," Mark whispered, looking at his own mug. He was trying to start a war. "Yes," the first soldier said. He injected a bright green liquid into Zyler's neck. "And he almost succeeded. This is the antidote. Your roommate will live." The soldier then looked up, his black eyes fixing on Mark. "This ambassador Vrekal, he is a traitor to our own people. He has started an unexpected war. We are the resistance trying to stop him. And you human, you and your coffee. You have just become the most important witness in this entire sector." The alarms on the station suddenly changed. They went from a medical alert to a full blaring security lockdown. "He knows," the second soldier growled, raising his rifle. "He knows the assassination failed. He is sending his personal guard. They are not here to arrest you, human. They are here to finish the job." The red lockdown lights flashed, painting the apartment in pulses of crimson. The high-pitched security alarm was a constant scream. "He sealed the sector." Tvek, the first Kathak soldier, growled. He checked his wrist device. Vrekal's personal guard. 3 of them. Moving down the main hall. They will be at our door in 40 seconds. Mark's mind was racing. But the station security, ... The alarm. Vrekal is the head of station security. Kor, the second soldier, said grimly. He was helping Zyler sit up. The antidote was working fast. The gray color was fading from Zyler's blue skin, but he was still weak. Vrekal has reported a containment breach in this sector. His guards have official permission to be here, and they have orders to neutralize all witnesses. Witnesses, Mark repeated. He looked at Zyler. He means us. 30 seconds, Tvek said, raising his energy rifle. He pointed it at the apartment door. We cannot fight them here. The door is a death trap. Mark looked around the small apartment. The window showed only the cold black of space. There was no other exit. We're trapped. No, Zyler said, his voice a hoarse whisper. He pointed a shaky hand at the floor. We are not. Mark looked down. He saw only the smooth metal floor. What are you talking about? The cleaning ducts, Zyler breathed. Under the synthesizer. You always complain. About the noise. Mark's eyes went wide. He ran to the food synthesizer and pulled the heavy machine away from the wall. Behind it was a small square metal grate, 2 feet wide. It was for the station's cleaning bots. It's too small, Tvek said, shaking his head. The ducts are small, Mark said, his brain suddenly working fast. He was a diplomat, but he was also an engineer's son. He knew how stations were built. But this duct will lead to the main service corridor. It's a vertical shaft, just below this floor. 20 seconds, Kor warned. Help me. Mark shouted. He and Kor grabbed the metal grate. They pulled with all their strength. The grate screeched and popped off. A dark, dusty hole was revealed. Go, Tvek ordered, pointing his rifle at the door. Zyler, then the human. We will be right behind you. Follow the shaft down. Mark helped Zyler, who was clumsy and weak, into the hole. I can't. My balance. It's not ... double quotes Zyler stammered. I've got you, Mark said, pushing him. Just slide, go. Zyler disappeared into the darkness. Mark took one last look at his apartment, at the coffee mug still sitting on the table. This unexpected war had started because of a cup of coffee. He slid into the hole after Zyler. He landed hard on a much wider, horizontal tunnel floor 5 feet below. It was dark, and the air was thick with the smell of dust and oil. Zyler was on his hands and knees beside him. Above them, they heard a loud hiss as the apartment door was forced open. Then, shouting. The snap hiss of energy rifles. A battle had started right above their heads. Kor landed heavily beside them. Go, now! He yelled, pushing them forward. Tvek dropped down a second later. His armor was smoking. They know where we are. Run! The 4 of them ran through the dark, narrow service tunnels. Zyler was stumbling, his legs still not obeying him. Mark put his arm around his roommate's waist, half carrying him. Tvek and Kor took the lead and the rear, their rifles ready. Where are we going? Tvek demanded. The central hub, Mark panted. The main plaza. It's public. He won't try to kill us in front of thousands of people. Wrong, Tvek said, not looking back. Vrekal has already declared you two as terrorists. He has told the station you are Zelosian agents who tried to poison him. He said you have taken me and Kor as hostages. He has given his guards a shoot-to-kill order. He blamed us? Zyler said, horrified. But you are Kathak. You are his people. We are traitors, Kor corrected. We have been trying to gather proof of his plan for months. This was his final move. He was going to use the human's death to start a war with your people and seize control. Now ... He will just use all of our deaths. They reached a ladder and climbed down, deeper into the station's metal guts. The station alarms were louder here. Mark could feel the vibration of heavy blast doors sealing off parts of the station. He's locking it down, Mark said, his hope fading. He is trying to trap us in this sector. He is trapping us, Tvek said. He knows every move we make. He controls the station's internal sensors. No, Mark said, stopping. He doesn't. The Kathak soldiers stopped and looked at him. What do you mean, human? He controls the security sensors, Mark said, a spark of hope in his eyes. He tapped his datapad, which he had grabbed before he left the apartment. But I'm a junior envoy. A boring job, Mark repeated, his fingers flying across his datapad. And Vrekelton's all about security. He's a soldier. He's not watching maintenance. He's not watching the air. What are you saying, human? Tvek, the Kathak soldier, asked, his rifle pointed back down the dark tunnel. I'm saying, Mark said, a map glowing on his screen, that I know a way out. Not for us, for the evidence. He pointed to his datapad. On it was the recording from their apartment. The confession from the Kathak soldiers. And he still had the last silver packet of the poison. The central air recycler for this sector is 2 levels down, Mark said quickly. It has main ducts that connect to every part of the station, including the human embassy. He can't lock down the air. It is a good plan, Kor said, nodding. We can get the proof to your people. They can stop Vrekel from outside the lockdown. But Vrekel's men are between us and the recycler, Tvek growled. We will never make it. Xyler, who was now standing, though unsteadily, looked at the 2 Kathak. Then we make a new path. You 2, he said. You are loud. You are soldiers. Vrekel is hunting you. Tvek and Kor looked at each other. They understood. It was a sacrifice. We will lead them away, Tvek said. He gave Mark a small Kathak data chip. This has our full report. Our evidence against Vrekel. Combine it with your recording. Send it. Go, Kor said, pushing Mark and Xyler toward a different, smaller tunnel. Go to the recycler. We will give you the time. Mark nodded, his throat tight. Thank you. Tvek and Kor raised their rifles and ran back down the main tunnel, shouting, firing their weapons into the dark. In seconds, Mark and Xyler heard the return fire of Vrekel's guards. The fight had begun. The chase was on. Come on, Mark said, pulling Xyler into the smaller duct. We have to hurry. They ran, Xyler still stumbling, his balance not fully returned. I hate this, Xyler panted. My body. It feels wrong. Just a little further, Mark urged. They followed the maintenance map on his datapad, climbing ladders and crawling through tight spaces. Finally, they reached a large, heavy door marked Central Recycler 4B. Mark unlocked it with his maintenance code. The room was huge and deafeningly loud. A massive, spinning turbine, 3 stories high, dominated the center, cleaning and moving all the air for the sector. Around the walls were dozens of ducts, all labeled in code. There, Mark shouted over the noise. He pointed to a small square duct labeled DSEC EMBH. Diplomatic Sector, Embassy, Human. He ran to it and opened the access panel. Inside was a small pneumatic tube system, used for sending replacement filters and small tools. This is it. Mark pulled out his datapad. He attached the Kathak chip. He wrapped the last silver poison packet around it, securing it with a small wire. This was all the proof. Mark, behind you, Xyler screamed. Mark turned. A single black-armored Kathak guard stood in the doorway. It was not Tvek or Kor. It was Vrekel's personal guard. The diversion had not fooled all of them. The guard raised his rifle. The traitors are dead. Now, give me the datapad, human. Mark stood frozen. He was holding the evidence, but he was too far from the tube. The guard laughed, a low clicking sound. He looked at Xyler, who was swaying on his feet. Look at you, Xylosian. The superior race. You can't even stand straight. Your poison was a failure. He's right, Xyler whispered, his legs shaking. I can't walk straight. Xyler, no. Mark yelled. Xyler did not charge. He fell. He stumbled forward, a clumsy, awkward, unpredictable movement. The guard, expecting a fast Xylosian attack, aimed where Xyler should have been. But Xyler was wobbly. He fell sideways, crashing right into the guard's legs. The guard was a professional, but he was not prepared for a 200-pound alien to collapse on him. He was knocked off balance. His rifle shot hit the ceiling. Now, Mark. Zyler yelled from the floor. That 1 second was all Mark needed. He lunged at the duct, shoved the data pad and the poison packet into the tube, and slammed his hand on the send button. There was a loud hiss as the package was sucked into the ventilation system, on its way to the human embassy. The Cathak guard roared in fury. He threw Zyler off him and raised his rifle to shoot Mark in the back. Envoy Assistant Mark. Stand down. The main doors of the recycler room exploded open. 10 soldiers in Human Federation armor stormed in, their weapons aimed at the Cathak guard. They were followed by the station's non-Cathak security chief. The Cathak guard dropped his rifle, his hands raised. It was over. An hour later, Mark and Zyler were in the station's medbay. Zyler was sitting on a bed, looking much better. Mark was drinking water. Thek and Kor were brought in on stretchers. They were injured, but they were alive. They had surrendered to the human soldiers as soon as the lockdown was broken. The human ambassador, a tall, serious woman, walked in. "Envoy Assistant Mark," she said, her voice sharp. "Your boring maintenance reports just saved this station. We received your evidence. Ambassador Vrekal has been arrested. The Cathak Empire has recalled its entire delegation. You and your associates just prevented a war." She nodded at Tevek and Kor. "They will be granted full diplomatic immunity." The ambassador left. The room was quiet. Zyler looked at Mark. He flexed his 3-fingered hand. "I feel better, but my balance, it is still slow." Mark looked at Zyler, then at the empty coffee pot a nurse had brought in. He smiled, a tired, relieved smile. "Well, Zyler," Mark said, picking up the pot. "He did call it coffee, and you couldn't walk straight." Zyler stared at the black pot with a new respect. "Human, from now on, I am only drinking water. Your coffee, it is an unexpected war in a cup."